The Multimedia Group, operators of JoyNews and other media outlets, has filed a formal complaint at the police CID asking for investigation and protection for its journalist Erastus Asare-Donkor following threats issued by St. Central MP Kennedy Agyapong against the life of the journalist. The company in the complaint cites the recent history of Kennedy Agyapong, chairman of Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, who made similar threats against another journalist, Ahmed Swale, who was eventually killed. A number of institutions, including the Presidency, Parliament, National Security and the IGP, have been copied in the complaint. I'll be sharing the full letter with you shortly, but I'll first bring you the remarks of Kennedy Agyapong against Erastus Asare-Donkor.
Now, this boy should be beaten seriously. It's so annoying. Some journalists answers Obama should beat the hell out of him. Me a president is like a boy with
So that was a St. Central MP Kennedy Agyapong. Let me now share the full letter from the Multimedia Group reacting to the comments. So it's addressed to the Deputy Regional Commander, Ghana Police Service, Ashanti Regional Police Headquarters, Edum Kumasi, and the attention of the Regional Crime Officer of the Ashanti Regional Police Headquarters, Edum Kumasi, is also drawn to the letter. Says, "Dear Sir, the attention of Multimedia Group Limited, MGL, and its journalist Erastus Asare-Donkor has been drawn to life-threatening comments that Kennedy Agyapong, Member of Parliament for the St. Central Constituency and the Chairman of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament, has made about Erastus Asare-Donkor. Those comments were made on the Attitude program aired on July 9, 2021 on Net2 TV, the television station owned by Kennedy Agyapong, and the content of the program was streamed live and widely published on social media platforms. In the said video, a copy of which has been attached, the Honourable Member of Parliament has heard raining insults on Erastus Asare-Donkor. Honourable Agyapong also called for the serious beating of Erastus Asare-Donkor, asserted that we should beat the hell out of Erastus Asare-Donkor, and threatened that if he, Honourable Agyapong, were the President of Ghana, he would have ensured that Erastus Asare-Donkor is beaten mercilessly. Honourable Agyapong launched the above scathing attacks and threats on Erastus Asare-Donkor's life because of the journalistic work that the latter undertook during the recent shootings and killing incident at Ejura and his appearance before the Kingsley Kumsing Committee investigating the incident. Sir, you may recall that sometime in the recent past, Honourable Agyapong issued similar threats against Ahmed Hussein Swale, who at the time had undertaken some journalistic works. Ahmed Hussein Swale was later horribly killed. The letter continues, and we're bringing you more on the rest of the letter in a bit. So, in the above circumstances, we wish to file this formal complaint of threat by Honourable Agyapong against the life of Erastus Asare-Donkor and request that this complaint is investigated and Erastus Asare-Donkor given the required protection. Sir, having regard to the status of Honourable Kennedy Agyapong, the national security implications of the comments, and the lessons from the recent history of a similar comment, we are by copies of this letter informing the underlisted persons of the content hearing. And I'll share with you the people who have been copied in the letter in a bit. We hope that the content of this letter will be giving the urgent attention it deserves. Yours faithfully, and it is signed by the General Manager of Love FM and Insure FM, James Agla, and Kofi Edudonfe, who's the news editor at Love FM and Insure FM. And the following people have been copied: the Chief of Staff, Office of the President, the Speaker of Parliament, His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Tutu II Asante Hene through his Chief of Staff, the Ashanti Regional Minister, the Minister of National Security Ministries, the Minister of Interior, the Inspector General of Police, National Police Headquarters, the Director of CID, National Police Headquarters, the Executive Secretary, National Media Commission, Accra, the President, Ghana Journalists Association, Accra, the Country Director, Media Foundation for West Africa, Human Rights Watch, New York, USA, Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, New York, USA, International Federation of Journalists, IFJ, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Now, Dr. Kenneth Shigbe is a former media manager and now someone we can call a media activist. Thank you very much, Dr. Ken Agyapong, for making time to speak with us. Now, this is an issue which keeps coming up. What will it take to get such persons to stop these attacks on the media?
I think it's important that for all of us as a country to realize that these threats against journalists are virtually threats against our own freedom to be able to express, what is important to us. Because the Constitution in Chapter 12 asks journalists to hold leadership to account. And they cannot do that in an environment that is full of threats and attacks. And so it is important that this stops. And I'm happy the steps that Multimedia have taken. So we hope that the police CID, the NMC, and all the various entities that have the power to be able to investigate this and ensure that the right things are done really would act. Because we are in a country of law. And, if even a journalist did anything wrong, fortunately for us, it was under the tenure of our current president as Attorney General that the criminal libel law was repealed. So there cannot even be criminal sanctions against a journalist, even if he did something wrong. And so for somebody to talk about beating, asking president if he was president to beat, it's definitely not acceptable. And we know what has happened in this country. Ahmed Wale is still on our mind. You don't need to be the person who would even go and carry out, this threat. But for people of influence like an honorable minister, honorable member of parliament, the words we speak carry a lot of influence. And so it cannot be said that the chairperson of such a powerful committee would be issuing threats in the media. And you see, he makes a very interesting point about the Rwanda example. And he forgets that in the Rwanda example, it was not just the media, it was politicians who used the media. And so this is one particular thing that we really need to look at. We need to look at this issue of politicians owning media stations and publishers owning media stations and, having overreaching influence on what happened. In the Rwanda example, and it will be important for him to go back and look at that. It was not journalists. It was exactly like him. Politicians using the media to be able to do this. So for all of us, I'm hoping that the NMC will take this issue on. There is the individual and there's also the media house that allows its platforms to be used to threaten other people. And it's important for all of journalists to realize the fact that when these threats are issued against another journalist, we need to come together to ensure that this thing, that does not translate and, have the unfortunate thing that happened with Ahmed Wale also happening. So it is important, and I would say again, I'm happy the steps that Multimedia has taken, and we should all push to ensure that there'll be a logical conclusion when somebody uses media to actually issue threats against another journalist.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ken Agyapong, for making time to speak with us. And Dr. Ken Agyapong, he is the president of the Chamber of Telecoms. But for this purposes of this conversation, I'm calling him a media activist. Of course, he's been a media manager on several media outlets. Now, lawyers for the Multimedia Group CEO and Joy FM have in the last hour also issued a letter to set the record straight about a supposed meeting with Kennedy Agyapong and other matters. Joining me in the studio right now is Daniel Dazi, who has a copy of the letter and is going to be sharing that with us. Now, Daniel, so let's look at the letter from the lawyers for the group CEO.
Right, so it begins by saying, Israel, that we are solicitors for the above named, i.e. Multimedia Group Limited and Chief Executive of Joy FM, and hold firm instructions to issue this statement in reaction to defamatory comments made on or about Friday, July 9, 2021 by Mr. Kennedy Agyapong on his Net2 TV network and broadcast virtually to the world. Our clients take a serious view of the outright falsehoods of wrongdoing, including unethical hack of saboteur reporting against government, criminal blackmail, corruption, and warmongering. It says our clients take notice that clips of said statements are being circulated and republished, especially on social media. Now, our client states the following unimpeachable facts. Number one, that the reference to a meeting with the chief executive of the Multimedia Group is accurate only to the extent of a brief discussion over a petition against the move in 2017 to reduce transmission coverage radius of certain radio stations to 45 kilometers. This petition, delivered to and received by the sector ministry on May 11, 2018, was issued and signed by management of 10 radio stations, including Kent City Media Limited's Oman FM. Now, viewers can find a copy of this particular petition online, myjoyonline.com. Excuse me. It says that the group of stations operating including 100-kilometer coverage radii, fearing the devastating impact of the threatened reduction to the established audience reach and investment made on the strength of the existing frequency reach, felt out of courtesy that the said meeting be had with him, Kennedy Agyapong, as then chairman of Parliament's Communications Committee, which he was at the time, that it bears stressing that neither did the CEO of the Multimedia Group Limited, an established professional business conduct, to step out, of his known character and established professional business conduct to discuss anything personal, nor such as separately, privately concerned Joy FM or Multimedia Group as a business, and certainly never a word about the falsely alleged concerns of his staff.
All right, so I just want you to pause at this point so that we go over the fine details here and clarify some issues. So we're talking about a meeting. So Kennedy Agyapong makes reference to a certain meeting with the chief executive of the Multimedia Group. Now, the lawyers are saying that, yes, there was a meeting that happened, but the meeting happened in
respect of what they state in point 1, which is, points 2. In respect of the 100-kilometer reduction, remember this story was big back in 2017 to 2018. National Communications Authority wanted to reduce the reach, the frequency reach of these radio stations.
Yeah.
The statement says that this was the only agenda of that meeting. Right. At no point in the meeting did the chief executive of the Multimedia Group Limited step out of his known professional behavior to discuss any other matter, as was alleged by Kennedy Agyapong.
Right. So let's go on to the rest of the
And this is point 4. It says that neither Joy FM nor its CEO has ever made the falsely alleged demand of money from government nor the NPP, and certainly not from any individual in government or the NPP for any purposes. Point 5 says that to the question in malicious projection of purported evidence of criminal culpability, only because he ever saw some staff in Gabi Asare-Chedakun's house, management has become aware of the following instances. 1. A meeting seeking an interview with then candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo ahead of the 2016 general elections. 2. An invitation by Mr. Ochire-Dako to a number of media personalities from various media houses in December 2019 for what was a normal interaction on governance. And 3. An invitation to a number of staff to discuss the possibility of their joining Asase Radio ahead of its commencement in 2020.
All right, so there are some meetings between Gabi Asare-Chedaku and some staff of Multimedia, but it happened under certain circumstances, and they explained the circumstances. That one, it had to do with some media.
An invitation to now President, then candidate Akufo-Addo ahead of the 2016 election. That was the first instance. The second instance was in 2019, where a number of selected media personalities. The impression is given here that the Multimedia Group was not the only media house which was represented there.
Right.
Or should I say Joy FM, because Mr. Agyapong was very specific to say Joy FM. He said Joy was not the only media house there, media personalities, interacting on governance. And then they go on to say an invitation to a number of staff to discuss the possibility of their joining Asase Radio. You're aware of the culture that, media personalities from certain media houses are approached when a new media house is setting up to discuss the possibility of moving. We have seen staff of the Multimedia Group move to Asase, and I don't know if it's in relation to these meetings, but that's what the statement says.
All right, so let's continue with the rest of the statement.
Right, I'm just left with 2 points here. That in any case, Joy FM, a world-class brand, has for over 2 decades established itself as a unique brand, championing development and critical journalism. It endeavors always to operate in full compliance of law, the constitutional dictates for media practice, and follows best practices of journalism, which allows staff to exercise independence of thought and action and professionally. The final point is that, in fact, it is impossible for the hundreds of staff from diverse backgrounds and private interests working together to produce news and programs to be dictated to, influenced, or to agree to his false allegation of a grand agenda against government, the NPP, or any entity or individual. It says our clients are seriously considering all their options at law and caution against repetition and republication of those reckless and malicious falsehoods.
I think that's a very, very important point. I'd like you to reiterate that very last point.
And that's the final sentence, and you have it on your screen there. It says, our clients are seriously considering all their options at law and caution against repetition and republication of those reckless and malicious falsehoods. So that's the position of the Multimedia Group in Joy FM as communicated by our lawyers, partners at law.
All right, and the lawyers also make reference to the petition that was sent to the NCA. That petition, we actually have, we're going to be sharing that with you on the screen. Daniel made reference to the fact that it's on the website, but we also have it on, and we'll share with you on screen right about now. But there it is, just details.
Yes. It's quite detailed, it's quite wordy, and the scope of the petition basically is advancing the argument that reducing the frequency reach of radio stations, commercial radio stations, from 100 kilometers to 45 kilometers will be detrimental to the survival of these media houses.
All right. So it is this petition that brought together the chief executive of the Multimedia Group and Kennedy Agyapong,
exactly,
as in his capacity as chairman of the communications committee at the time. At the time.
And the impression is given here again that the chief executive of the Multimedia Group was not the only one present at that meeting with Kennedy Agyapong.
All right. Thank you very much.